Episode 10 of Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation definitely felt like an episode that was going to kind of be like an okay episode until like the later parts of it. But yes, just finished the episode. Pretty solid in the end, though. I think even though I kind of had this thought of, okay, this is a good episode, but not really anything fantastic happening, and it still kind of turned things around towards the later parts of it. But yeah, so the party kind of finally arrived at Rikarisu, which is a village that's kind of behind this big, huge wall. They had to go through a checkpoint where they find that they're looking for a guy named Dead End, who, of course, is Rejerd, and so they have to disguise him. So they decided to disguise him as a Migard, which was odd. I thought they were just going to kind of just paint his entire body blue, but no, they decided just to kind of dye his hair to make him look like a Migard, which I guess technically works out in the end. But yeah, once they arrive, they decide to go ahead and try to make some money through the Adventurers Guild. And Rudy decides to, I guess, test out their ability to disguise Rejerd by bringing him in and just kind of claiming that he's dead end, just to kind of make it a joke. And turns out that that was enough to kind of make everybody disbelieve that's a thing. Following this kind of laughing scene, he has another experience with the Man God, which I did kind of find it funny in this kind of exchange between Rudy and the Man God. He's like, "Well, see, I helped you," and he's like, "No, technically, if we declined Rejerd his help, he'd probably just help us in the shadows anyways. So you didn't really help us at all." But yeah, he claims that the next step that he should do is to find this missing cat, which was one of the quests that they had available to them. So they end up using Rejerd's ability to find the cat to locate this little kind of underground. I guess it makes sense, but it was kind of like those. That's a weird way of making money. So this group apparently doesn't let themselves rank up so they can get the quest for finding animals, and so they steal the animals, wait for the reward, and then act like they found the animal to make the money. Interesting way of making money, but through this exchange, that's when we kind of get this moment of Rejerd's, I guess, his thinking of how to fix his race's name is a little bit warped. So when they capture this group, one of them kicks Rudy, and the guy and Rejerd immediately cuts the guy's head off. And of course, and this was kind of interesting because, of course, Rudy's a little bit upset with this because, I mean, you just chopped this dude's head off in front of him. But Eris doesn't really react, I'm really curious about this. I don't know if this is just a thing where she's been through some stuff, or that she's seen this kind of thing on a regular basis. I mean, it was similar to when Ghislaine chopped the other guy's heads off. She's like, "Hey, Ghislaine, how's it going?" She didn't even react to it. And it was similar in this situation when Rejerd cut off this guy's head. She kind of sees it. She doesn't even look disturbed. She doesn't look shocked. She just kind of goes, and looks away. So I am curious, if are they purposely showing her reaction because eventually they're going to get into something that shows why she just doesn't really respond to that kind of stuff. Is it just that she was raised in such a prestige family, she just doesn't have the understanding of the value of a life? I mean, I can see that. I mean, the idea of somebody being raised in a family that uses slaves and doesn't, and kind of sees themselves as the idea of somebody in a rich family, a noble family, doesn't see anything under them as valuable. And I can see that possibly being a thing. I just don't know. They haven't really necessarily, I guess, spelled it out. And it seems like they're pointing out her reaction quite obviously. So, but anyways, like I said, this kind of conversation, or Rudy's outrage to Rejerd doing this, kind of turns into a conversation about what Rejerd believes he needs to do in order to fix his race's name, and that is just to kill villains. And so, okay, this guy is stealing stuff. And they're doing this whole thing, and he kicked a child, so he's a villain. And so Gary's kind of walks up and says, "What do you mean?" He starts kicking him. He's like, "I kick people too." And I guess is the moment where, but that's kind of the Rudius kind of thing, is like, you're not going to fix your name by killing these people. You're just going to make people fear you more. So it is kind of thing of like, your idea is just to slaughter anything you believe is unjust, but all that does is make you into the villain anyways. People are still going to fear you in the end. You're not going to fix your name by doing this. So it was kind of a interesting little thing because Ranger doesn't really believe that. And when Rudius wants to work with the guys by saying, okay, well, rank yourself up and you're going to get quests for us. Ryuja doesn't like that. And he's like, no, I'm not going to work for these villains. And he's like, no, the way you're doing things is not right. I do like that. This is like, there's 2 points in this entire episode where it just really feels like Ares is in that like super Dede mode with Rudy and everybody else gets the soon part. Because she's like, if you don't like what Rudius is planning and what he's saying, what he's doing, then get out of here because we can technically, she's like, we can do just fine without you. Me and Rudius will go on our own way, and you can just, if you don't like what Rudius wants to do. Similar to earlier when they were at the inn, and some random guy from the Adventure Guild wants to have Ares join him, and she's like, no, leave me alone. And he's like, what are you doing? And he grabs her coat that Rudius just bought her, and it breaks, and she just freaking pummels the guy. This is the first piece of clothing that Rudius bought for me. So she's like in super Rudius daddy mode. So that's really, really awesome. A lot of great moments of Ares in this episode. I am surprised because Ares is technically very loud. And she has like a very loud tsundere voice. But she doesn't. I've noticed with this episode, I'm like, normally this kind of like overly loudness, over excitement of a lot of things, and just the way that she comes across should be really grinding in the ears, but she's not. I think her seiyuu just pulls this off so well. But yeah, it's great moments for her this episode, easily, really, really. Yeah, I guess the only thing they kind of point out is at the very end when the villains get their next quest, they have a bump in with this horse-like demon guy. And he's kind of taken a lot of note to what they're doing, so obviously we're probably going to get them possibly having to have somebody who's, I guess, sniffing out what they're doing. So we'll see where that goes, but yeah, solid episode in the end. Great animation, especially at the very beginning. It kind of had like a weird, different art style to it, so I did notice that it felt a little bit out of place, but it was still great, fantastic animation. So I'll accept it at this point. But yeah, good stuff overall. Only one more episode. I am kind of scared of what they're going to leave it at, but we of course know that we're going to get another core, which is perfectly fine. I'm fine with them split coring to keep this quality up. So hopefully they leave this next episode with a great chapter end. But I'll definitely be here to kind of give my impressions on it, and then I will do a full review of the first core. But I hope you guys enjoy this impression, and y'all take care.